Week 14 marks the return of the best in the world, Justin Jefferson, coming back to your Minnesota Vikings after
Let's
a long
go.
absence due to the hamstring injury. This is the biggest return in sports, even bigger than CM Punk coming back to the WWE. So we got the real best in the world right here with Justin Jefferson. And
Let's
it couldn't
go.
have
Let's
came at a
go.
better time after the bye week. Teams on a little bit of a losing skid. 2 games where Josh Dobbs did not play well, but he gets a fantastic weapon back in Justin Jefferson. And going into Las Vegas, players need to stay out of the casino, focus on the game, right, against the Raiders. It's a big one to win, but they should be able to do it against the Raiders team that I think they have some pieces, sure, but I mean, the interim coach thing, the fact that they're probably going to roll out Aiden O'Connell again here. So it feels like a game the Vikings should win, and it's a game that honestly the Vikings need to win at this point.
Yeah. Hey, everybody watching, like and subscribe, and don't forget to stay around for our score predictions here. Yeah, exactly what you said. JJ coming back is huge for this team. And after this slouch games against the Broncos and the Chicago Bears, you kind of wish you could grab any. I mean, those are terrible losses. So you wish you can get anything to come here that can bring the momentum back and kind of change back around. I mean, we already turned around the season once, and now we're trying to do it again. And it's that he's like that type of player that can come in and change the offense to such an extent that we could just get right back on track and kind of bring that momentum back to the Vikings. And that's what we're hoping that we see from Justin Jefferson coming back. And I do think, man, I think he's the best wide receiver in the league. I think it's significant addition to this team that, was looking good during the first 5 games of him being injured. And I think you're going to get that from him. And I mean, it'll be interesting. And like you were talking about Dobbs, we know that now he is going to be starting in this Raiders games, and it gives him a weapon that he hasn't had yet. He has Addison, and Addison's been solid, but he didn't really build that chemistry with Addison early, but you did kind of see in that Bears game, which is kind of nice because him being able to do that with Addison in that game sets him up pretty well, I think, when JJ comes back. So that because Addison's going to be going against the cornerback 2s and 3s instead of the CB1s because they'll be playing against or lining up against JJ. So I'm excited about that. But
and you mentioned corners, a Raiders team with no Marcus Peters because they cut him last week. So I mean, this should be a game the Vikings should be able to win. I mean, just plain and simple. The last 2 games should have been as well. I know it's tough to talk about should haves when you just came off of 2 losses, and one of them being the Chicago Bears at home. But
right.
But yeah, Justin Jefferson, I mean, as you mentioned, he was on fire those first 5 games. In the first 36 catches, 571 yards, 3 touchdowns. Insane. And like you said, it just gives Josh Dobbs that go-to option, which he has not had yet, right? When things are tough, there's been nobody for him to say, you know what, I'm just going to toss the ball up in this guy's direction, hope he goes and makes a play. He's tried, hasn't worked well.
It did work once, yeah.
Right.
It should have worked once.
Yeah, it should have worked once, but JJ makes that a much easier catch than Jordan Addison did there, but it was still fantastic. Jordan Addison finished the catch even though it wasn't an official catch. It is what it is. Now to change the complexion of the whole game. We're here to talk about Justin Jefferson in this Raiders game, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it just gives him the go-to option, the guy he needs when he's in a sticky situation, the guy that you can draw up a play for, and he could literally turn the game around. I saw it live in the Chargers game earlier this season. He did that with a 50-some yard touchdown. Like he has that extra special ability, right? And the hope is that he needs to bring the best out of Josh Dobbs. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited to get him back in the fold. I'm excited to see him back pretty much, it sounds like 100%. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to see how Kevin O'Connell is going to implement him back into the offense.
Yeah. Hey, I'm cool. I'm here for in the last game against the Bears, we saw the first throw of the game was down the field, and I'm hoping we see the same thing. Maybe we do it to Justin Jefferson this time. But in this game, if we do want to win this game, we need to open up their defense, and we need to get the ball deep, and hopefully JJ coming back will be the big reason of that happening. Because in the last game, I mean, if you're coming back to Dobbs, it's partially his fault too, but he's not set up to succeed. And I say his fault as well is because, he's not really throwing deep. It's on him as well that he's not throwing deep, or his accuracy isn't the best deep, or what's going on there. But he's going to have to, and maybe it's because we didn't have the personnel to do it really, and we don't. I mean, Addison's a kind of a small guy, and he's kind of the deep threat on our team right now. So, I mean, you get the opportunity to bring JJ back and have Dobbs do that. But then with KOC, like I said earlier, he has to set up some plays here that go deep, and not just that, but set up plays to help Josh Dobbs succeed in this offense too, meaning roll him out and give him an opportunity to use legs when you can. And then those things combined could change everything in this offense. And, at the end of the day, I mean, a lot of it's going to come down to turnovers and Josh Dobbs taking care of the ball. So we'll see what happens there. But what's your thoughts like quickly on, because we did release a video yesterday specifically on Josh Dobbs starting. You should go check that out. But what is your thoughts on Josh Dobbs starting this game, and how KOC can get this going with him, and how can this offense succeed with Josh Dobbs now that Justin Jefferson's here?
I think it really all comes down to Kevin O'Connell hopefully took the bye week. I know he said him and Josh Dobbs had some conversations that Monday after the Tuesday after the Bears game, where we look at some of the plays. And hopefully they both did some soul searching. But it really all does come down to Kevin O'Connell just clearing the mind of your quarterback and putting him in situations where he can just go play football and he can succeed. If that means rolling him out of the pocket, using some play actions, you're going to have to do it. Rolling out of the pocket is something that I'm surprised we haven't done more with him. Get him a chance, a little bit more time, a chance to see the field better, and a lot more opportunity to take off and run if he so chooses. So I think it really all does come down to, and I'm not mad at the decision. I 100% get why Kevin O'Connell is going with Josh Dobbs here. But yeah, it comes down to Kevin O'Connell just putting him in the best situations to be successful. And that will be getting the ball to Justin Jefferson early and often.
And I said it a million times. I said it a million times before the Bears, and it is getting the ball deep in some way or shape or form. Keep that defense honest, because after that Broncos game, they kind of, a lot of teams realize, like, all right, we just need to bring the pressure on Dobbs because he gets a little shaky after that.
Yeah.
And in this specific game, I mean, that's what the Raiders are going to do. They're going to be the pass rush, and they have, I think they're almost a top 10 pass rush in the entire NFL, because they do have a guy like Crosby who's an actual absolute stud, and he's someone we're going to have to watch. And the offensive line can't play like they did with this Bears game. We need to see, we're the top 5, technically top 5 pass blocking graded offensive line this year. We didn't see that from the Bears because we kind of have this we just have bad games for whatever reason, but we need to keep Josh Dobbs clean in the pocket, not be not having a lot of pressure on him, so he gets a little shaky there. And I do think, if we're not getting any balls down the field, then they're going to just continue stacking the box, exactly what we saw in the Broncos game, the same thing we saw in the Chicago game, and then cover short. And, we're screwed, because that's what what Dobbs does. So I think that's another thing. Like, you have to get their defense to open up. Otherwise, that pass rush is going to be coming nonstop. And the Bears figured it out, and the Raiders are going to come in and try to do the same thing. And the Raiders, I'm more worried about the Raiders pass rush than the Broncos and the Bears. So that's going to be a huge key to me in this game, is to be able to pass block for Dobbs. I mean, and help him from making mistakes and all that stuff.
And unfortunately, I mean, the offensive line pass block in these last couple of games have not been great. And like you said, Max Crosby already has 11.5 sacks this year.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's an absolute stud. And I mean, sure, there's other things you got to watch out for on their defense, but I mean, it's kind of like the same way it was in the 49ers game, where it's just if there's one, you just got to find that one guy on that team, and he cannot be the one to beat you. And Max Crosby is that dude. Probably primarily going against Christian Darrisaw, so that'll actually be a pretty fun matchup to watch. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm actually really excited to see what it's going to look like with Josh Dobbs continuing to roll, hopefully get more comfortable, and hopefully him and Kevin O'Connell work something up this bye week, but then just implementing Justin Jefferson back, letting Addison slide back into the wide receiver 2 spot. TJ Hawkinson's still going to be there. Then you still have KJ, Brandon Powell, and hopefully Jalen Naylor a little bit there, but mainly you're going to have KJ and Powell. The chemistry between Powell and Dobbs has been there, but not so much between KJ and Dobbs. So it'll be interesting to see now that KJ steps back into that wide receiver 3 role, if that kind of picks up a little bit. But yeah, it all comes down to using your weapons effectively. Kevin O'Connell calling a good game plan, and when you need to be aggressive, got to be aggressive.
Yep. And then, of course, setting up the run too here. I mean, we've been obviously a lot of us were talking about Ty Chandler. Madison did probably have his best game of the season, at least per touch wise against the Bears. And it'll be, I know we're going to see more Addison than Ty Chandler this week. I don't think there's any questions about that, but it'd be nice to establish that. Hopefully, we just see some one cuts by Alexander Madison. I think from from a viewer standpoint, he looks a lot better as a running back when he just one cuts it and runs up and he doesn't try to dance behind the line of scrimmage. And hopefully we do see that from him. And then, of course, continue to use Ty Chandler, though. Continue to use him and his speed because he is a guy that can break one open, I think. And and of course, that's important to also, and you say this all the time, but important to establish the run so you can throw the ball deep and kind of open up the game in that direction as well. So, yeah, I mean, I'm still on team. Like, I'd like to see a 50-50 split between them, but I do think it's just going to be the same that we've been seeing with Madison kind of being having the larger role here. But of course, like, this is everything that comes down to this team winning this game. And, our defense, and we'll jump into over there pretty quick here, but our defense, it's been what's been holding us together in these last two games. And it's just been our turnovers by our offense, obviously. And then, being too conservative, which is KOC has to come in here, be aggressive throughout the whole game, come in here with the mindset, like, I'm coming to win this game and I'm going to do whatever I have to. I don't care if I win by 20 points or whatever. Like, I'm coming in winning this game. There's not going to be an aspect in this game where I'm like, all right, let's play not to lose or whatever. So hopefully we see that from him. But yeah, man, I mean, any other thoughts on the offensive side of this ball, and we can move on to what we're expecting defense?
Yeah, not really. I think it's a good time to flip onto that defense. Cause I mean, from a defensive perspective, this Raiders team, it's one that if you take the quarterback out, you're looking around, you're like, this team has some potential, right? Cause you have, obviously you have Devontae Adams, who's with a good quarterback is one of the top receivers in the league, a guy they don't use nearly enough. Then you have Jacoby Myers as his number 2, and then you have Josh Jacobs, the defending rushing champ from last season, and all those things. You look at that, and you're like, man, this offense should be so explosive. But then you realize they have Jimmy Garoppolo, who was, let's be real, a system quarterback all career. Had a couple, some good games in New England under Belichick and Brady, and then also played well with San Francisco, but. San Francisco is one of those teams anybody can play well with. And now they're on to Aiden O'Connell, the rookie out of Purdue, who I like, but you'd see he has the makings of a career backup. So I think Brian Flores needs to have the same type of mindset that they're going to have against us. Get after him, pressure him, because he's not a mobile guy. He's more of a pocket, a pocket type quarterback. Yeah. Get after him, make him make some mistakes, and you could get home against this guy and force him into some bad decisions. I mean, at Purdue, he was a relatively safe quarterback, didn't take a lot of chances, and it worked for him. So you might see a lot of that coming up as well. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is, I guess, just limit the run game, limit Josh Jacobs, and then that'll make their pass game a lot less effective. Because again, if you allow them to get in a rhythm, Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers will hurt you.
Yes, and you have to worry about game. Yeah, you have to worry about both of them no matter what. And at any moment, especially honestly, Myers has been probably one of the most underrated wide receivers. He might be one of the most underrated wide receivers in the entire NFL.
I liked him a lot in free agency for the Vikings. Yeah. I wish they had taken a swing.
Right. Yeah, I remember that. And so they got some studs there. But again, you're right. I mean, they have a rookie in Aiden O'Connell. He has 4 touchdowns against 6 interceptions this year. So he can make some bad decisions. And I think, if you're Brian Flores, you just do what you do best, and you bring on the blitz and make him as uncomfortable as possible, so he can't have time to throw to these wide receivers. And then at the same time, of course, again, you just need to stop Josh Jacobs, because that is kind of who they've been relying on. He started off slow this season, but I'm pretty sure he started stepping it up quite a bit. And I mean, I think if we lose on defense, it's probably because they're going to be able to establish the run game. But luckily for us, I mean, with Brian Flores, he just figures out, he just mid-game schemes. Like, I don't know what he does. Well, I kind of do, but I don't like, he'll figure it out. He'll figure it out. Whenever we need to stop the pass, he does it. He might allow some rushing yards that we've seen before, but when he needs to stop the run, he does it well. too. So a lot of this, like we should have won our last 2 games if it was because of our defense or whatever. So I expect him to come in here and have a very solid defensive performance, and I do think we're going to see that. So at the end of the day, I think it's really going to come down to our offense and not turning the ball over and staying consistent with the play calling and all that stuff, and the mindset from KOC to go out and win this game. And I mean, I think we should. And you even if you have 4 interceptions last game, if we had JJ back, you imagine we still win that Broncos game and that Bears game with just
Right.
JJ being back. It was that close, and we, especially that Bears game, should have been a no-brainer. So you think him coming back alone, especially if we're not turning the ball over, should do enough for us to come in and win this game.
For
A
sure.
game that, again, we should win, and we've been saying that the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So anyway, big game against the Raiders. I mean, at nauseum, 2-game losing streak. The NFC is getting a little bit tighter. The bottom of the wild card bracket's getting a little bit tighter. You have like 3 or 4, maybe 5 teams all lumped right there at 6-6 and 5 wins. So it's going to be a grind, and we still play the Packers and Lions twice. So the Bengals looked like this last week are starting to figure some things out a little bit on offense.
Browning
so,
looked good on that.
He
game.
did.
Wow.
I mean, that's the legendary night practice Jake Browning that was in that game right there. But either way, big game for the Vikes to get back on track and roll into this stretch run that's going to be super important if they want to make the playoffs and make some noise. So this is a game they need to win. That's the question. Will they do it? What are your thoughts? Will they get the win? Score predictions?
I think they're going to get the win. I'm just going to roll with it. I'm not going to be too, or I guess it's being a little bit cute, but I'm not going to be too. I think if there's a team that I think we should beat, and same with the Broncos, same with Chicago, and we definitely should have beat them, I'm going to say this is another team in that type of area. And honestly, you could argue the Broncos are probably better than Vegas, but
I would agree.
I'm going to say we win this game 24 to, I'm going to say 17. I've been kind of giving us bigger wins than that, but I'm going to say we win by 7 points. JJ comes back, we win by a tutty. And what's your thoughts?
I like the 24, but I'm going to say a little tighter. It'd be another nail biter. 24-21 in Vegas. Vikings find a way to get the win. Move to 7-6 on the season. Hopefully get a little bit of momentum coming back. And roll on to some games that are looking pretty tough, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And they're going to need to just play their best football from here on out if they want to make some noise. So that's our thoughts on this game. We want to know what your guys' thoughts are. Drop your score predictions down in the comment section. We'll see you guys right here next time on the GG Sports Podcast.
Skol Vikes.